Let's talk about all of this with our panel. Joe Trippi is a former campaign manager for Vermont Governor Howard Dean, and Karl Rove, former senior advisor and deputy chief of staff to George W. Bush. Both are Fox News contributors. Great to have you both. Karl, you just published a piece on FoxNews.com. Literally, it's being published as we speak right now, and in it you write, the tax bomb has now exploded. What's the fallout, in your opinion?
Well, I think it depends on how this is litigated over the coming week. I think it's a mistake for the Trump surrogates to go out and say, oh, he's a genius. That suggests that he found some special way to jimmy the tax code to his advantage. I think it would be better for them just to come forward and say, look, our tax code says if you have losses and you're filing, you can take those losses and use them to offset for future income. Otherwise, we'd have small businesses that were losing money but still having to pay taxes on non-existent profits. So I think they ought to be just sort of straightforward about it and say, of course, he had big losses from casino and other business. He took those in 1995. He could use that to offset for future income. That's the way the tax system is. And anybody who suggests that if you got losses, you ought to pay taxes on them is nuts. And go straight back at her, force her to be heard one way or the other on it.
Joe, if the Trump team is more straightforward about it, do you think this goes away?
No, I don't think it's going to go away. I think I agree with Karl. I think they've totally mishandled it and sort of played right into where the Clinton campaign wants to go, which is, you know, he got this huge, almost $1 billion tax break, and now his tax proposal is to get rid of the estate tax or change the estate tax, which saves his family even more billions. So they're going to keep pushing this and pushing it, and they've got to come up with a better response. I don't think this "he's a genius" thing is helpful right now.
You know, if you look at it, the list of quote-unquote bombshells for both candidates during this election cycle, it's actually insane. I was trying to list some of them. Hillary Clinton, you have the pay-to-play scheme for the foundation. You have questions over a personal server in Benghazi. You have the deplorable comments. You have the fainting episode. For Donald Trump, you have the comments about women, the beauty queen, the apprentice, the tax returns. You have the debate on the birther issue. I mean, we're still several weeks away from the election, Karl, so I wonder how timing comes into this and what else is there out there for either of them.
Well, we don't know, but there's likely to be more. On her side, we're likely to have emails. We're being promised a dump from WikiLeaks. But look, here's the deal. These things are, it depends on how you respond to them. She brought up the Miss Universe candidate, the winner, beauty contest winner during the debate. That would have been gone the next day had not Donald Trump then spent Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and part of Saturday talking about it and defending himself on an issue where that is not consequential, where he doesn't look good, where he only makes himself look bad, and most important of all, chews up valuable time. We're at that point of the campaign where the most valuable asset is time, and he chewed up basically 5 days talking about that sideshow issue instead of prosecuting the case that he stands for change and she represents the status quo. So it's going to be interesting in the remaining days of the campaign, roughly 6 weeks left, 37 days. Going to be interesting to see how they handle the events that intrude into the campaign and whether they have the discipline to force the dialogue back to their main theme, in his case change, and hers qualification and experience, and whether they're able to do that.
You know, we want to talk a little bit more about Hillary Clinton, Joe, but I'm also seeing some breaking news from the New York Attorney General's office. This is just coming into our newsroom, that the New York Attorney General's office has issued a notice of violation directing the Trump Foundation to cease and desist asking for money in the state of New York. So you have this coming up about his foundation, but of course you have questions about the Clinton Foundation as well. So to Karl's point, here we are 37 days before the election. Anything can still happen. Does any of what we're talking about right now impact the undecided voters 37 days from now?
Oh, absolutely it does, and it's just going to get worse, in my own view. Look, you got two people with huge negative ratings, and at this stage of the game, I don't think either of them are likely to heal very much of the concerns people have about them. And so it's going to be much more likely that the campaign sees on any missteps, anything that comes out like this new report, and to keep forcing the other one off its footing. And Trump seems to fall into that. I mean, that's part of the problem here is they're going to keep throwing out bait, and if he keeps taking it, there's no way he can get back into this campaign. I think you see these polls in Colorado and other places now where it's starting to widen. A lot of it is because of what Karl said. She pushed out on the Miss Universe thing, and he followed up for 4, 5, 6 days, fell right into it. If he takes that bait now and keeps doing that, that is what the Trump campaign's got to guard against.
Well, we'll see how he behaves, also what happens at the debate in Virginia where you are, Joe. Just for a little bit more information from the New York AG's office, apparently they're putting this the cease and desist order into effect because the foundation failed to register with the Charities Bureau and has failed to provide annual financial reports and an annual audited financial statement. So that's why they're saying you can no longer essentially raise money in New York. I'm going to let this sit for a little bit as we find out more information. Karl, I want to ask you about something that no one's really talking about in relation to politics. And I can't help but think about it because of what happened with Superstorm Sandy. We have Hurricane Matthew, and there's one path that puts Hurricane Matthew directly along the eastern coast of the United States in some battleground states as well. And again, we don't know the path of this, what's going to happen. But because of what we saw with Superstorm Sandy and how that impacted, some suggest, the race for the White House between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, I'm wondering what a completely outside event like hurricane response could mean for either candidate. What about that?
Well, if there's a big storm that hits the East Coast, the main effect on the campaign is going to be that it's going to divert coverage from the campaign to that storm. I mean, it mattered in 2012 more than it might matter this year because it gave President Obama a chance to look like he was presidential, to be seen in the midst of the controversy and in the midst of the recovery efforts. But this year, I think the biggest effect is it will tend to freeze the race because we'll be spending more time about Hurricane Matthew and less time about the campaign. There's simply a limited amount of time in the evening news and on the news programs on cables to cover everything. And when you got something big like that that's fast-moving, breaking, dominant, lots of visuals, lots of video, tends to dry up coverage for other things.
Joe, I'm curious your thoughts about that as well. As we just take a step back from the inside of the political story and think about, well, what outside impact could a story like a hurricane have?
It can have a huge impact. I mean, we're talking about, look at the states that it could, Florida, North Carolina, Virginia even. I mean, these are states that are real key to both campaigns. Not being able to go there. Again, forget about sort of the political consequences of hurricane response, which will matter. But the campaigns themselves, they can't just go rolling into these states. If there is, if there are emergency services that need to happen, these kinds of things are going to take resources away and distract. And the news coverage is going to be about the hurricane, not about either of them.
And of course, the hurricane, the protection of Americans is the most important part of this story.
Right.
But I can't help but think about it, considering the path and also the news of the week. Karl, Joe, great to have you both. We look forward to talking to you as always.
Good
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. And this is evidence you've turned into a complete political junkie, Jenna.
You're right. I don't know about that. Thank you.